difficult part because once this pops up, it will start playing from where it started recording. So unless you click out of it, it will keep talking into it. There you go. So you X right out of that, get back to this, and we're back to recording, live streaming to YouTube. Easy peasy.
Awesome. I'll look at that.
That's when everything goes right. That's how it's supposed to work. Thank you. Okay,
Okay, ready?
we are ready.
I'd like to call the Isabella County Board of Commissioners Human Resources and Public Works Committee meeting to order.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as set.
Support. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. We have an agenda. First item is call to the public. Do we have any public today online?
I'm gonna switch my screen just to make sure. We do not at this time. Everyone online is with the presentation this morning.
That being the case, we'll go to our first item this morning. Isabella County Lake Level presentation by Stacy L. Hissong, member Fahey Schultz for Zeke Roads.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, my name is Stacy Hissong. I'm at Fahey Schultz Bursick Roads, and our law firm has helped you with a number of different items over the years at the County Board of Commissioners level. And in terms of myself, I have served Isabella County Drain Commissioner's Office as their legal counsel since the Gary McBride days. So when I was 12. So our office represents the Isabella County Drain Commissioner, but also represents about 60 different drain offices or county boards of commissioners, helping them with drain and lake level projects. And then also serves as the general counsel for the Michigan Association of County Drain Commissioners. And with me is Amanda Knutson, who's an attorney at my office who assists me in all lake level matters. And then Luke O'Brien, who is engineer from Spicer Group, who has been working with the Drain Commissioner and reviewing the situations for your lake levels. And so thank you for having us here this morning. You're about to learn more than you ever wanted to know about lake levels. But you know, they're yours as a Board of County Commissioners, so I think it's important that everyone understands it. So with that, if it's okay, I will start the presentation. I think I will start the presentation. Okay, so we're going to go through why there are lake levels and why a County Board of Commissioners needs to know about those. You have 3, and we'll go through the status of each of those. What we recommend is resolutions for your lakes, and then next steps. So in terms of a lake level, you're going to hear me refer to Part 307. That's Part 307 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act that was passed in 1994. And in 1994, that's known as NREPA. They took all the environmental laws through the Michigan compiled laws and put them all together in 1994 under the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. But really, there has been a Lake Level Act since the 1920s. It's just been in different parts. They recodified it in 1994, and now it's known as Part 307. And so when it comes to Part 307 or lake level concerns, when you're a county board, these are the things that you need to know about. One is you have 3 of those, and we'll talk about each one of those in a minute. We'll unpack each of these issues: legal lake level, seasonal levels, meaning winter and summer levels, variations in the lake level, the special assessment district, ownership of the structure, and then insurance to protect the county and the district from liability. So in terms of a legal lake level, it's extremely unusual statute in that the circuit court sets the lake level for each lake. And so circuit court judges just absolutely love it. No, they don't. But basically, if the county board passes a resolution to have a lake level, then the circuit court, every riparian owner or member of a district is invited to circuit court to provide their input as to what the lake level should be. There's an enumerated list of information that the circuit court looks at to set a level. And then that is the level that the county through its delegated authority is required to maintain and operate that lake level 2. And so when we're looking at lake levels that were previously set by the circuit court, we want to make sure the physical level of the lake matches the court order level so that you're not in violation of a circuit court order, and that we need to have updated survey data, meaning that back when some of these lake levels were set, they were set based on a datum for mean sea level, so how many feet above sea level. But then surveyors changed the datum that they use, and they use something before called NGBD 29. Today, surveyors use NAVD 88. And so that's why going from inches to centimeters, it's the exact same level, but the numbers are two different things, going from NGBD 29 to NAVD 88 or the sea level. And so we need to make sure that we're at the most updated datum. It is not unusual, going back to this, that your physical level of your lake and your court order level of your lake are different. And so part of our job will be to make sure that our court order matches the physical level. And then there are seasonal levels, which means that it is not unusual for a lake to be drawn down in the winter to prevent ice damage. And so if a lake is drawn down in the winter, the circuit court order must include a winter and summer level. If you don't, then you are in violation of the court order, and it should also include the effective dates for those seasonal orders. Some lake orders have specific conditions for drawdowns in addition to what a permit might have. So speaking of permits, any time you draw down a lake for whatever reason, it requires a permit from Eagle under Part 301 of NREPA, which is natural resources, which is inland lakes. And so it's important not only to not be in violation of the court order, to have your seasonal levels right and the drawdown dates right, but it's also important for Eagle purposes, because there is every time you draw that down, you're supposed to get a permit each and every year from Eagle. The exception to that is an administrative rule that says if you have the drawdown in your circuit court order and it will not cause adverse environmental impacts, then you don't have to get an Eagle permit every year. Then you automatically are exempted from that because it's covered in your lake level order. So it's really important to have your seasonal levels correct in your order. And then here's a big one for every lake level in the state. Lake levels, as you can imagine, vary over the course of a year based on, did it rain, how hot it was, how much it didn't rain, etc. And so, as you can imagine, during the course of a year, a lake level is going to vary because of weather conditions. And there was most of the old circuit court orders, like the ones that you have in your county, do not include language from the judge saying the judge recognizes or the court recognizes that those orders are, the lake levels are going to vary because of weather events. And unfortunately, there was a recent Court of Appeals opinion that says it cannot vary despite weather conditions without being in violation of that circuit court order unless your circuit court order includes variation language. So that means that if you aren't exactly at what the court order says, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year, you are in violation of the court order. We are attempting with the Michigan Association of Counties and the Michigan Association of County Drain Commissioners to revise Part 307 to include variations, and that's Senate Bill 662. But in the meantime, many counties are going through and adding variation language to their lake level orders to ensure that they're not found in violation of the circuit court order. Then, you didn't know there was so many things to a lake level. Then there's the matter of a special assessment district. So the county board has jurisdiction and responsibility for their lake levels. If there is no and the county board has the ability to set up a special assessment district. If the county board doesn't set up a special assessment district, then the county board general fund is responsible for every penny of operating, maintaining, and improving the lake levels. So that special assessment district needs to be included in the court order with the boundaries. So it's important that every court order is very specific, that there's a special assessment district and what those boundaries are, and that the delegated authority actually sets up a special assessment district, because in the event that there is not and something happens, then the county board of commissioners and the county is liable for any costs relative to that order. So there's lots of things in a court order that's important to have correct. If there is a special assessment that is a district, then that's a special assessment to the property. It is not a tax or a use fee. And that special assessment district is generally made up of property owners that abut the lake. And then also properties, the assessment is to properties, not to the people who use the lake, but the actual properties that benefit from being near a lake. And so it's those that are on the lake, as well as those have some sort of deeded access through an easement or through their plats to utilize the lake. That is different than the general public's use of the lake. So as I mentioned, without a special assessment district in place, the county can assess property owners or townships at large. And this is one of the few acts where if the DNR has property on the lake, you can assess the DNR. And so it would not be possible to do any of those things unless your circuit court order includes specific boundaries of a special assessment. So confirming the boundaries, as I mentioned, in circuit court is the first step. The circuit court judge determines who's in and who's out property-wise of the district. And then there would be a special assessment hearing with regard to the methodology that the delegated authority holds after that as to how much each property pays. And so it's a multi-step process to go through that.
And this hasn't happened yet for us, Stacy?
No, there's some language in the orders with regard to a district, but as we go through like Weidman Lake, the tribe paid for everything, so the district was never followed through on, as an example, and none of the orders actually show the boundaries. It just references that a district was established, but there's no information, and we'll unpack each one of these for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then ownership of the lake level. So infrastructure. So if the county is responsible for the water control structures, it should own it or have an easement on it. We find that many counties, including Isabella County, don't necessarily have property rights to all the infrastructure that they have jurisdiction over. And so when we go and do these reviews for a county, we want to make sure that you either own the property where the dam is located, or you have at least an easement. One, because you need a property right to be able to do the work that you're responsible for. And two, I think just as importantly, you don't want anybody else manipulating the water control structure if they own it. And so you don't want any misunderstandings about who has the rights to do things and who does not have the rights to do things. So, and then insurance, this is something that we've been working with Nicole on already, with regard to making sure that your infrastructure that you have jurisdiction over and responsible for is covered by MMRMA through your insurance. And so when we go to review a county's information, these are all the boxes we check to make sure that you're all set. And so what we're going to do is go through each of the lakes and talk about what we need to clean up for you, or what we recommend that you clean up. And before we go through this, I want to tell you that it is not unusual for us to find that all the boxes weren't properly checked in a county. Meaning, I've rarely been to a county that has the lake level that matches, that has up-to-date datum, that their physical level matches their legal level, that they have their seasonal levels accurate with the timing accurate, that they have a good confirmed special assessment district with an updated special assessment boundary and role, that they actually have ownership rights in it, in the water control structure. Many counties don't have all those boxes checked when we first are engaged. And so it's our job to make sure by the time we're done, you have everything in order so that you can operate for decades to come with no issues. Why is this? I don't think anybody really paid attention to this before the Midland Dam failures. And so now not only are counties paying attention to this more, but so is Eagle. So I know the Michigan Association of Counties has had me present at their conferences and take part in podcasts for them, making sure that all our county board of commissioners are aware of the issues that are involved in this and the potential liabilities. And so that's why you may not have heard about it until now. And so when we brought this issue up to not only the drain commissioner, but to your county administrator, they both wanted to ensure that the county board of commissioners was aware of the various issues.
Thank you, Stacy. And you're already helping. I can say as of February 1st, we had coverage on the dams through our liability and property insurance. So you're already helping us to improve. If we hadn't had that knowledge and something happened, who knows, right? So thank you. You're already helping, Stacy.
Wonderful. Yes. Any given day, we could have a crazy storm event and things could happen. And again, Isabella County is not unique that this wasn't cleaned up, and Nicole made sure immediately that this took place. So the first one we're going to go through is Stevenson Lake in Vernon Township. I'm going to turn it over to Luke because this is a picture of the water control structure and it has some issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah, so the most recent inspection on this dam was done back in 2022. So just a little over a year ago. It was done at the end of 2022. If you go back and look at the inspection report, basically it said that this dam is functional. It still serves its purpose, but it's starting to show its age. It was installed back in the 1970s, is my understanding. And to this point, it's starting to show cracks and spalling in the concrete. It's a very simplistic structure. It's done well to serve its purpose. But as standards and safety has evolved since 1975, this structure is now not considered super safe. There's two wooden, what you'd call walkways on each side of it. They're basically just, planks of wood. Those let you go out to the outmost stop log, and that's where you adjust that outer one. You have to walk out there. There's no hand railings, no nothing to prevent you from falling. The wooden walkway, the boards are starting to show deterioration. The pipe under the road, so the road is directly behind where the photo was taken. That pipe is a metal pipe that goes under the road. It's approaching 50 years old. So the structure is starting to show its age. And the recommendation with the inspection report was to, begin the process to start making an improvement or a replacement.
Now, I don't normally say that being 50 years old is showing your age or exceeds your design life.
We're 12, Stacy. We are 12.
But yes, we are. Yes, we are. But this one is showing it. And then the other thing, remember that your county employees are responsible for going into this condition and removing logs. We have had other counties where there's been an OSHA inspection and OSHA violation and fines for unsafe conditions. And so it's going to be our recommendation that this is cleaned up.
And I know with this past winter, Bob had said he did have an issue with turning the crank on that outmost chain. So, there's definitely some issues. It's I wouldn't say major or drastic at this point, but that's where we're, getting the process started here.
Yes, this takes
Luke, is there code that dictates this? Is there code that dictates what this structure will look like when it's replaced?
So you have your OSHA standards, and then you also have certain standards that the Eagle Dam Safety has. So there's a few different things that you have to follow. The dam safety is going to be more looking at, making sure that it passes the storm event that it's supposed to pass, making sure that You know, if there's different requirements based on the hazard of the dam. So this dam is the lowest category. It only holds back a small amount of water vertically, which puts it as low hazard. And Stacy was talking about part 307, part 315. This one is just 307. So it only has the criteria. It only meets the criteria for a special assessment district. Part 315 is the higher standard for a regulated dam. And so that has to hold back a certain amount of water vertically and surface area wise. And so this one doesn't meet the vertical requirements. So it's your lowest level lake level control structure.
But and I think part of the question, Luke, is in putting this together, you'll follow OSHA standards in terms of safety and updated technology.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were going to either do, you know, a rehab project or a replacement project, we would look at, you know, what the new standards are with hand railings, things like that. And then if there's newer technology that we'd want to implement here that would make operating the level changes easier, we would look at doing that.
Nice. Thank you.
So any other questions about the condition of the structure before we move on to some of the legal issues? Okay. So, so this has a lake level that was established in 1974 with a winter and summer level. And so one of the things, if the board passes the resolution, Spicer Group would go out and look at, is the physical level match the legal levels for both the winter and the summer in terms of design and the physical presence, and then update the datum from mean sea level to the NAVD 88, and then also ensure that we're meeting the drawdown date criteria so that you would not be required to get an EGLE permit. EGLE is going to go through this winter every lake level in the state to ensure that it has drawdown criteria. And if it doesn't, that's going to require a permit each and every year, which will not be fun and would be very expensive. So if we're going to open up the lake level, we should take care of all that as well. So this has a minimum and a maximum rather than seasonal. If there's no summer and winter levels in the order, so we need to look at how this lake is actually being managed and then have the order match that. And then
Yeah, can I just add something, Stacy? So, and I know Bob could speak to this, but basically it's a little bit different how this order is laid out with the language, with the minimum and the maximum. And I think it's been interpreted as having a winter level and a summer level, but that's not specifically what it says. So my understanding is the county goes out before Memorial Day, puts the board in to raise it up, and then after Labor Day, they take it out to drop it down. So they're operating it with a summer level and a winter level, but don't have necessarily the specifics in the order.
yeah, and so with regard to that, I think we're going to have a problem with EGLE in terms of not getting a permit each time we manipulate the boards. And then the order says it established a district, but it didn't attach the boundaries to the order. And we think if you're going to go in and clean up all these other things, then we probably need to do that too. So we're recommending updates to establish the level, confirm the district boundaries, to add variation language, confirm ownership and easements, not only over the water control structure, but all its appurtenances. So any emergency spillways, any ingress, egress, anything that's related to, in some situations, there's berms. We're going to talk about that for Weidman Lake. And then, of course, Nicole has already taken care of the last one in obtaining insurance. So a couple of things about this. To go through the process, a resolution is required, and that starts kind of like tolling the special assessment district. If you go through and start improvements and spend money and then decide, oh, let's set up a district, the circuit court may not say everything going back to when you started the process is included in the district. That's why you're going to want to sign the resolution right away so that the clock starts on the special assessment district and costs. The county board can, of course, choose to pay for whatever it wants. But if you don't have a resolution that the district's going to pay for it, then that makes it more difficult. So
Stacy?
Yeah.
Who does own that dam?
well, that's a mystery right now, Bob. We have to go and look into, we have to do some searching as to who actually has the ownership and is there any easements. And without an engagement letter and this board's authorization, we didn't go down that rabbit hole to date. So that's going to be one of the things on our list.
Okay.
And so the resolution is the first step. And so these are some of the things that we're talking about doing is updating the order, helping prepare a special assessment rule, helping with preparing and designing the improvements, etc. This takes some time to get the court order updated and to get an EGLE permit and design, you know, could take a year. So this is a situation where you want to get started on that. The sooner the better, because it does take some time. It could be in excess of a year before you can actually do improvements. And so it's important to start that as soon as possible. Any questions about Stevenson before we move on to Weidman Mill? Okay. So Weidman Mill Pond also has an established lake level. It's Nottawa and Sherman Townships. Luke, do you want to tell us a little bit about the condition of this one?
Yeah, so again, the inspection was done back at the end of 2022. And in this case, the inspection did find some fairly significant concerns. The photo here shows the primary spillway. But there is an embankment that's on the eastern side of the south end of the mill pond, and the bank is showing significant seepage.
So that means like a berm, right, Luke?
Yep.
Okay.
So there's an earthen berm, that helps hold back the water, and there is seepage that was noted. So water is soaking through the berm, and the water that's coming through was found to be cloudy, which is an indication that sediment is migrating with the seepage through the berm. So if that continues over time, eventually there's a chance that the berm could fail. There's some other issues where there's some extensive tree growth and brush growth on the earthen berm, very large trees. So that can pose a problem if a tree is uprooted during a windstorm, that can cause a void or a hole in the berm. The height and cross-sectional area of the berm is inconsistent. So potentially if you were going to correct that, you'd want to make it a very uniform slope, uniform height. And then there is some erosion on the inside of that berm along the water line, where probably the waves are blowing up against it and taking away the lower part of the berm. And then there's also some animal burrowing. So that berm in general, it raised quite a few concerns.
So this can't wait, and I want to explain why. If there is a berm failure, I'll have Luke speak to what the impact it would be to the lake level itself, but there would also be a significant impact to the natural resources. If there was a berm failure, it would not be surprising to me if there would be an action by the Attorney General's office against the county, like there was in Midland County for damages to the natural resources, where they count every dead fish, every dead mussel, every dead animal, and the cost of recuperating any cost to putting everything back together, not just for the water control structure, but any damages downstream, and chart and file suit for those damages against the county or the special assessment district if there is one. And so we don't want this to happen. In addition to the issues with the structure itself. So we recently, I say recently because I'm, in the last 10 or 15 years, had a similar issue with Park Lake in Clinton County, and Spicer Group in my office assisted Clinton County and its delegated authority, the Drain Commissioner, in doing a project to update the water control structure in the berm. So this again is not unusual, but it's something that needs to be.
And this dam is interesting as well because it's actually failed before. You probably are aware the dam failed in 1986. Got blown out, and it took many years before it was reconstructed around 1999, 2000. So it's failed before, so just want to make sure it doesn't happen again.
With regard to that,
When it was replaced, Luke, what, oh, I don't know the terminology. The dam that was installed is what was it installed for? Like 100-year flood, a 500-year flood? Like what was the level of the new dam that was put in around 2000?
Let me check.
Because
would
that's
be-
not that long ago. 50
Right.
years, I understand. 20 years, 25 years, I
Well,
don't understand. On
The
a
design,
500-year dam.
yeah, so the design storm event, so what's required to pass is the 100-year storm. And so the part that you're seeing in the photo there, that's the primary spillway. That's kind of the main part of the dam. That's actually in pretty good shape. There's a few minor things, but for whatever reason, that earthen berm that's on the east side has somewhat been neglected. There's also some ownership concerns. It sounds like there's some private property. The township owns a parcel. So the county doesn't necessarily have an easement or ownership of that berm to actually maintain it. And so maybe that's why it hasn't been necessarily maintained as well as it should have.
yeah, and so what
For
hazard
long
factor is
enough
this
to
dam?
grow large trees.
Correct.
Yeah,
Lou, can you talk
Embarrassed.
about the hazard level of this dam?
Yeah, so this dam is a significant hazard. And so it's part 307 and part 315. Significant hazard is kind of the middle of the pack. High hazard is the highest, and then significance a little bit less. So if it does fail, there's definitely some impacts if it fails, but not necessarily the
hazard
worst
level
case
deals
scenario.
with the potential loss of life,
Correct.
not necessarily how far the dam goes down, but the potential loss of life. And so if there was a failure, that is a possibility for this structure. And so 2 things about this one. I know when Bob found out, he immediately contacted Spicer Group to start putting a proposal together. And I think Spicer Group has a proposal they put together or starting to put together. He's already had a meeting with the tribe to talk about funding. And because this is significant hazard, there's some funding available at the state level through Eagle and the Dam Safety Unit that we can apply for as well during their next funding cycle. Is that right, Luke?
Yep. They'll have another application period next fall, or this fall, I should say.
Yep. So we have some ownership issues with regard to what you have jurisdiction over. I know the township owns some. I think there's a private property owner that owns some. So we'll have a little bit of fun issues to navigate in that regard. This has a normal level established in 87, amended in 98. And then their district established, but it was never attached to the order and it was never assessed. So we don't have really an assessment rule because the tribe paid for everything. And so that's something that we're going to need to take care of with significant improvements moving forward. Even if they're all paid for, we still should move forward with, confirming what the boundaries are, getting those attached to the court order and having a special assessment rule put together. Right now, I think the special assessment district had a little bit of leftover money from the tribe project, but that's pretty much gone, I think, Bob, is that right?
Yeah, it's very low.
Yeah. So we have a list. We have a lot on our checklist for this one. Confirm the levels match the as constructed levels. Confirm the district boundaries and get those attached to the order. Add the variation language. Deal with our ownership issues. There's a significant project that's going to require permitting. And if we don't get grant money or full tribe money, it might require a bond issuance to move forward with this one. So there's quite a bit to take care of on this one. And again, this is a year or two process to go through before construction can actually take place. And so the resolution that we put together for you today to consider and then consider again next week is filing a circuit court petition to take care of all the issues with the order, get together a special assessment roll, and then, move forward with engineering for the project to deal with any issues with regard to the lake level control structure and the berm, as well as, the ownership issues. So I know there's an awful lot I'm cramming into this presentation, board members. So before we move on to Lake Isabella, do you have any questions about Weidman Mill Pond?
At this point.
Okay. All right.
Bob, it's becoming very clear why you couldn't answer all the questions we had the last time this was brought forward.
A lot of it's mystery.
I understand now. Mhm.
And
Oh,
that,
I do,
I want to say
okay.
that's not unique to Isabella County. That is,
Yes. Commissioner or Chairman Marino has a question.
yeah, how does this affect the tribal suit that established, so much part of the northern county was tribal land? How does that fit into this?
So I know we had a meeting with the tribe to talk about, so in terms of the project in your jurisdiction, it's my understanding that you would still have jurisdiction and responsibility, but the tribe is interested in this project. And so we met along with Bob, with the tribe. We provided them with a report and a draft proposal for engineering for them to look at. And so in conjunction with the tribe and a grant proposal, we're hoping that we have some funds coming in with regard to that.
They have a large parcel there, 30, 40 something, whatever it is, but.
And I think they have a large
It's
parcel,
been-
and I think many tribal
Yeah.
members' homes are on the lake as well.
Yeah, I know some.
They will be, that parcel will be in the assessment district, but we can't assess.
Wow,
But that's why they contributed.
got it.
I think that's why they redid it in the first place. How it all happened is big mystery.
The paperwork from the last projects isn't in wonderful shape. And so we're gonna get everything in. I'm a little OCD when it comes to our paperwork and our core orders and our assessment rules and our deeds and everything else. And so we're gonna make sure, and I have a feeling Nicole is too. And so I think between all of us, we're gonna make sure that everything is in tip-top shape.
Safety.
Now,
Good goal, Stacy. Good goal.
so moving to Lake Isabella, I'm going to tell you that this is one of the most unusual lake levels that I've dealt with, and I've dealt with probably 100 of them. So you have a lake level that was established in 1970 and a drawdown authorized in 1982. And then you have an updated court order in 2012 with provisions for drawdown and refilling. And so it talks about a normal level and it can't be drawn down to any level not lower than 885. And it talks about commencing on October 15th, which Eagle will no longer allow to have happen, and completed by November 1st. And then he has discretion to extend the drawdown period if extraordinary conditions exist. And again, I think Eagle will be concerned about that language with regard to permitting, and the variation language could handle that. And then it says if a full drawdown is conducted, the Drain Commissioner may return the water to partially drawn down level for the remainder of the winter months. So it's extremely, well, I don't want to say extremely specific. It has some specifics in there that may cause problems in severe weather events. And then he has the discretion to determine when the lake is returned to the normal level in late winter or early spring. That is somewhat unusual with regard to these orders. And then this is the really unusual part, the Drain Commissioner and Property Owners Association has concurrent authority for obtaining permits. I have not seen that in a lake level before, because it's ultimately, if something goes wrong, it is the County Board of Commissioners' responsibility. And then there was a district established in 1970 with property now owned by the Lake Isabella Corporation. So we would have to go back to 1970 to see what the Lake Isabella Corporation owned. And of course, that's been subdivided many times and sold to individual owners. And in the future, that will happen as well. And so there are some potential updates that you may want to have happen with regard to the order, the drawdowns, updating the role, etc. But I am not recommending that the county pass a resolution at this time because of the extreme involvement of the village and the Property Owners Association. I think it might freak them out if you passed a resolution without having conversations with them first. And so for this one, we would recommend meeting with the village and or the Property Owners Association to say, hey, we're going through and we're updating these orders, given the Higgins Lake decision, given, you know, the variation language and what's going on, perhaps it's time to update this one as well. But I think it may be important to go through this. I'm not sure where ownership is with regard to the structure. I'm not sure if there's an operator's agreement, if the county isn't operating it and the village or someone is, the exact language of those agreements. And so I think a sit down is important here to see what we have and what we haven't got, where everybody is, and then if necessary, move forward with resolution for those. So we have insurance obtained for this one, so that's good. And then I think we need to talk about for each of the lakes, especially the first two, this would be the process. Spicer would have to go out, check the accuracy of the lake level, see what needs to be changed in the order, develop the boundaries, make sure we have all the property interests in all of the structures. And then many counties, this is something that Bob, as your delegated authority, would want to talk to the county board about. In terms of transparency, we have been holding meetings with the lake owners to let them know, hey, this is what the county is doing. We anticipate projects. We anticipate going to court to update the orders so that the first time they hear about it is not when they get a notice from circuit court that we're doing all these things. And so we have no need to reinvent the wheel for Isabella County. We have all kinds of PowerPoints and webinars and things that we've put together that we can, update to meet the specific needs of Isabella County to make sure that you have transparency to your constituents, and then go through the process to update the lake levels, update the structures, have the appropriate special assessment districts in place. So that was a lot. I know Nicole has our engagement letter, has resolutions, has copies of all the orders, has copies of this PowerPoint, because I assume that it's going to take a little bit to digest all of this information, but we did not want to wait before we presented it to you.
Thank you, Stacy. The commissioners of the committee do have those 3 items before them, the engagement letter, then the 2 resolutions. And just to be clear, now we kind of understand adopting these resolutions at this time is just kind of acknowledging there's going to be substantial costs involved, and it allows those costs to be spread over a special assessment district, albeit it may not be established yet.
Correct.
Okay. I think we have a lot better understanding.
And so
Are there any
open
other
to any
questions?
questions that you may have, and I recognize some of this might take a little bit to digest. So both Nicole and Bob have our contact information. I plan on being available, as will Amanda, for your Board of Commissioners meeting. If you're ready to proceed with these, which again, I recommend you do because we need to start the clock for the district and we need to get working on these things. I will be available until about 6:15, 6:30 on that day. And Amanda will be available the entire time. And I think Luke will too.
Perfect.
So with that, Nicole,
Great.
just let us know what you'd like and we will have it ready.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very interesting.
Absolutely. All right, take care.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Lots of education there.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have that recorded.
Yeah. You have to look at it 3 times to figure it all
Mhm, mhm.
I think that's really good counsel, right?
out. Oh, yeah, that's.
Mhm. Same firm we used on the utility scale wind project. And that we're using now on solar. Mhm. Specialty.
As far as assessment, I think we do have a role for Stevenson Lake. But it's outdated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I want to point out, Rick Jakubiak
Mhm.
tried to redo Lake Isabella one. Get it accurate and ran into about the same kind of opposition you're getting at Coldwater Lake sewer project.
Mm.
There's a group of founders or whatever you want to call it for Lake Isabella that have lots and property in there that are at 0. And Rick wanted to
Mm.
flatten it all out, make it, and he ran into such a big fight, he gave up on it. So we're still, anything that had to be assessed to Lake Isabella, we gotta use that roll from 1970.
Well, it sounds like that's on the back burner, right? But the other ones need action. So I think Stacy had a good idea to meet with leadership of Lake Isabella and talk about those changes, right? Maybe we go about it a little differently this time.
I hope so.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Sit down and talk. I like the fact that we're not pushing a resolution for it. I like her recommendation to sit down. Yeah, I like her approach. It sounds like she can't really start investigating that until the board approves an engagement letter with her in this regard. And then that once that's approved by the board, then that allows her to work on their behalf in this regard.
As far as my records go, that way, just got.
Sure.
I don't even know who they.
Well, it seems like one of those things where there was a job to do and everybody thought someone else was doing it, but my God, to grow large trees on an earthen berm, I mean, anybody knows the
Well-
berm shouldn't be disturbed with roots, right? So whether that knowledge got lost through the years or what,
Well,
we know now, so we need to figure it out.
That's the thing, is if it's private property. I mean, yes, we're responsible for maintaining burn, but if it's on private property.
Even an easement isn't gonna help us, yeah. Yeah, well, though I think those are the things that Stacy and Fahey Schultz, she'll be on board with to help us through. So I think it's just the appetite of the commissioners, if you're ready to engage with that firm in this regard and adopt these resolution, move them forward, hopefully to adoption. It sounds like it's important to start that clock so that these costs we're about to incur can be recouped through the special assessment
Yeah.
district.
That's for sure.
Mhm. Mhm. And Stacy will be at full board too. I don't know that she'll give that whole presentation. The board has it available to them. They can watch the recording of this meeting. I don't know that she would do that whole presentation again at work session next Tuesday, but she'll be there to answer any questions.
This is valuable.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
I would recommend that all the commissioners
See it?
have
Okay.
that
Well,
in front of them.
okay. We'll make sure it's included as a hyperlink, even if she doesn't go through it. Okay. Maybe just send it to them. If you would, Julie, send it to them today and And I'll forward you the recording of this meeting. And then they can have that to watch too,
That's great.
before Tuesday, hopefully. It's good.
Well,
Good.
I mean,
You do
it's
important
been-
work.
it's been- I mean, obscured, really.
Well,
Say.
It sounds like it. Mhm.
Okay,
But the sooner we get to having numbers in front of us. And then you got the process of maybe jumping in and getting 2% money and, you know,
Yes.
how do we think?
Yes,
Within our meeting at polls, I've talked with Tom. Sounds like the tribe's willing to.
No, it's a safety issue too.
we'll go through the process, right? And, you know, but I think to Commissioner Hutchinson's point, the sooner we get started, the more opportunities there are for funding.
right,
Mhm.
okay. Any other things?
Should we, I'd say go to number 5, consider approving the engagement letter with Fahey Schultz Birch Roads PLC for legal services regarding lake levels and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Support, it's been. Okay, is that number 5?
That's
Yes,
number 5.
Okay, been moved and support to consider approving the engagement letter of Charlie Schultz. Research Roads PLC for the legal services regarding lake levels and authorize the board chair. Same, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's been approved and that item will be forwarded to our work and regular sessions next week. Thank you. The next item, consider approving the resolution 2024 could I have a motion in that, please?
Yeah, make a motion to consider approving the resolution 2024-03 and authorize activities related to the Wademan Mill Pond lake level and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Support. It's been moved and supported to move item 6 to the regular meetings of the county commission. Work in regular session next week. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. The ayes carry. Item 6 will be forwarded to next week's meeting. Now, you mentioned that could be put on the back burner. What do you want to do about that?
no, not this one.
Not this.
This is Stevenson Lake, so this should go. We're talking about the Lake Isabella one,
Oh, okay.
which will wait and hopefully get a meeting with Tim Wolf and others.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Okay, number 7 then. Consider approving resolution 2024-04 and authorize activities related to the Stevenson lake level and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Support. It's been moved and supported to move item 7 to the work and regular session of the county commission next week. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. The ayes carry. Items 7 will be forwarded to the work and regular session next week. Okay, thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob.
You guys need to get rolling.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's what we're.
Let them guys wait.
I need the funeral.
I'm sorry to hear that. Oh my gosh, what a life.
Yeah, so.
Got a lot of longevity in your family, Bob. That's a good thing. Enjoy your day, sir.
Any announcements? Call to the public and the public.
There is not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Given all that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee. Okay.